Hello, welcome to another video. Here today I'm going to talk about your highest timeline and what it means for you and how it communicates with you. So to understand your highest timeline more clearly is to understand the lightness of your being through consistent and uncompromising actions of self-acceptance, to tap into the subtle movements within, to listen relentlessly to your natural impulses that pull you unknowingly in unexpected directions, though unexpected are light. And I feel it is important to highlight the lightness, to place emphasis on lightness, to bring lightness into the tongue, into the dialectic of this intention or aim or ideal. Because through lightness, through the lightness of one's constitution or being, we can easily we are subtle in that state. And in that subtlety, we are like water, where we can ultimately be flexible, we're not, and we can ultimately rise as well, as we're not weighed down with the heaviness of expectations or with beliefs that don't serve our highest, almost natural timeline. So in this lightness really is the key to receiving and realizing your highest timeline, or the destiny unto your natural self. And it is to be accepting in this state of not knowing the outcome, but in focusing primarily on the presence of your being, to be conscious enough to realize and to discern between natural and unnatural, to really routinely check in on yourself, on your body, on your energetic body, to routinely release the ambitions of the mind to define and to feel into your body, into your intuition, into your deeper into your deep understanding of yourself, your innate knowledge, through the presence of your innate being, which is ultimately light. And you will feel a distinction in that lightness compared to when you are entirely in the mind, projecting expectations based upon fears. Because to be in a state of lightness does not mean that one no longer feels fear or uncertainty. It is to be lightness in fears and uncertainty. Whereas when we are lost in the mind and projecting out, it is an attempt to alleviate the concerns of the mind, whereas the lightness accepts the concerns of the mind with wholeness, with presence, and with care, and with a gentleness ultimately. Through its gentle nature, we can soften up, we can unravel our sacred flower into the light of our highest timeline, of our natural self. In our natural self, we will gravitate towards the light naturally, gracefully. And one does that by listening. Listening and then creating, rather than what most do out of fear is don't listen and constantly act. And so this circle, karmic circle, is then created as one is in a feedback loop, if only acting and not listening, if one neglects their ear to their natural self, then they will be a party to a creation of an endless cycle of fear, ultimately, of resistance to a toughness, almost a rejection of the natural self, the opposite to gentleness, to lightness, to softening up, and that takes courage. We hear words like lightness and gentleness and highest timeline, and the mind to delight. It's like, that sounds great. That sounds amazing. I mean, obviously it is amazing, but it doesn't come. There's always a give and take. It's not just. It's softening. It's lightness. It's gentleness in the face of fears, uncertainty, of pain. And those states will fluctuate, of course. But they'll always be there. There'll always be moments in your life where you have discomforts and insecurities and fears, and those will ebb and flow throughout life in a natural state. But if you can maintain the ideal of gentleness to curate a lightness of holistic, of your holistic constitution of mind, of your body, of your emotions, of energy, of your spirit, of your actions, of your thoughts, then in that lightness you will be supple, and your spirit will be able to rise up in that subtleness, in that suppleness towards the light of your highest timeline. And you will do so in a graceful state, because there will be no effort, because you will be being you uncompromisingly, relentlessly, to a state where there's no effort. It's just happening. A car doesn't need to be a car. A bird doesn't need to be a bird. They're already that. And so you're trying to, through this gentleness, to achieve a lightness, to then rise to the light of your highest timeline. In achieving that state of lightness, to be supple, to soften through gentleness, you will just manifest. You will just be your highest proclivity. And that's important. That's an important distinction, because the mind will believe there's work to be done. And of course, there will be things that you will do, and as you unravel, as you begin to soften and unravel, but things will manifest rather than you having it's a dance. It's not just, it won't just be you actively taking course of action. It will be a dance. It's a graceful dance between you and the subtle movements of your authentic self. And so again, I just want to tap again to the word lightness, softness, gentleness, and to really come back to simple measures in a serious way. Because it's easy to act and to think and to intellectualize and plan and have all these expectations and to hide from our insecurities or fears. But what is hard, and what we seldom see in society, is an individual who prioritizes a softness, a gentleness, in order to be light in a world that is heavy, and to trust in that process that things will occur, because you won't know what's going to happen. It's impossible. And so in the uncertain state, you have faith in yourself. You have faith in that though the world may be heavy, maybe you're feeling heavy, that you still choose gentleness, that you still choose to soften up in order to be light, in order to rise. That is the challenge of our age. That is the challenge faced with you, because the alternative is to harden up like stone, to see the world or to see your fears and to harden up and to think and create expectations and plans to combat the world or to combat your fears. That is the stone. That's just to harden up. That is defensive. But stone is heavy. It's like water. It's with water, the light of your being can penetrate. There's a flexibility, there's a motion. There's stone. It's hard. It can't penetrate. Well, it will take a big blow to penetrate, but you don't want to be taking heavy blows to yourself. You don't want to be treating yourself like stone when you're trying to crack yourself open. You want to be like water, a softness, a gentleness, a lightness, a fluidity, a subtlety. These words are key. They tap into the subconscious. They have great depth to these words which we only understand on the surface, but they're very, very, very important. And so I advise you to let these words linger in your mind, linger in your consciousness as seeds to grow roots and to naturally grow internally and externally. Because through these words, if we have a society that is populated of individuals who, in the face of the world and face of themselves, choose gentleness and choose a lightness, then we will be in a much better place than the world we see today, where we hide from fears, where we view fears as the enemy. Thus we view the world as the enemy, and we view people as the enemy, and we view ourselves as the enemy. There's a war, there's a multi-dimensional war at the moment with this hard, stone-like resistance mentality versus the potential in us to soften, to be gentle, to be light. Because it takes great strength to be soft, to be gentle, to be light. Great, tremendous, silent strength, which is also important. Because it's easy to be strong and hard, to be resistant, to be combative, to be fighting, to be entirely intellectual and plans and expectations, where one hides and fights and it's obvious and you can gain recognition. But to work silently through softness and gentleness and faith in yourself, in your highest timeline, through trust that fear and uncertainty and pain in the face of self-acceptance is the fruit of your labor, and a work that won't be celebrated, though you will be a party to a great magic trick within. For that is the treasure that no one will see other than you. Although down the line, as you begin to share in your own way, you can intimate and you can share your light to the world, but ultimately you will be privy to your own personal glory. It won't be celebrated on social media, and you won't get a paycheck for it, although you will be benefited in countless other ways and unexpected ways, as long as you adhere to the line of softening, a gentle approach, to be in a state of lightness, to not view the world or others as yourself as other, as foreigners, something to combat, something to resist, something to fight. That is the task of our age. That is the task bestowed upon you now. And so with that, I'll leave it and speak to you next time. Bye.